Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm going to call to order the Pflugerville City Council regular meeting at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. If you would, in a moment, rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, the pledge to the Texas flag, and remain standing for a moment of silence following. If you would join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please feel free to take your seats. With the nature of the topics of discussion tonight, I am going to be going a little bit out of order from the agenda. So the first item I'm going to cover is a mayor's proclamation, item 4A, declaring March 2025 as Women's History Month in the city of Pflugerville. I'm going to head on over here. Again, thank you for being here. Women's History Month is proclaimed each March to honor the achievements and contributions of women throughout history. Women play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of life, having served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement and served our country courageously in the military. Women of every race, class, and background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. So I proclaim March 2026 as Women's History Month in the city of Pflugerville and encourage all residents to recognize and celebrate the contribution of women, past and present. I have Barbara Nahara here to accept this proclamation on behalf of the city. You can just go get a photo.
That's fine.
All right.
I have a sentence.
So it is Women's History Month, and this is not mine, this is all of ours, so all the women on the dais, please join us for the photo. I would love that. That includes Tristan, our city manager. Sorry, I took that over.
Just cut it above right there.
Just my laptop. Sometimes I get it out. Sometimes it doesn't matter.
And as I mentioned, we will be skipping around quite a bit today. I am moving to immediately to item 6C. This is to conduct a presentation on city water supply and drought contingency plan. We have our Deputy City Manager Hartsworn here to present, and if you would introduce the team you have with you.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council, City Manager. It's a pleasure to be with you here this evening. I'm actually going to let our newest addition to the team, Assistant City Manager Pflugerville, kick us off, and I'll be your closer for tonight.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council, City Manager. Also with me here on the panel is Matt Rector, who is our Public Utility and Engineering Director, and Chief Willie Richards, who is the Chief of Police. And again, we're here to speak with you about the city's water supply and drought contingency plan. Before moving forward with our presentation, I'll give you a brief presentation overview where we will cover our history of the current water infrastructure, Then we'll discuss in detail our existing challenges, our efforts that we're taking to recover from those challenges. We will answer frequently asked questions that we have received. Then we will discuss our communication efforts and we'll present a call to action.
And
Yes, sir.
Assistant Manager, City Manager Roberts, for the benefit of our audience, can you tell us how long you've been on the job here?
This is day 7. Yes, sir.
So you've jumped in the deep end.
I'm swimming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the puns.
So before we move forward with the history of our current water infrastructure, I'll begin with a definition of a few terms that you'll hear throughout the presentation. The first term is existing raw water line. The existing raw water line is a 30-inch water line that connects water from the Colorado River 15 miles north to Lake Pflugerville. Second term you'll hear is temporary bypass water line, which is a 24-inch water line that we have constructed to connect to the existing 30-inch water line. And so that 24-inch water line is a bypass around the existing break in the 30-inch water line. And so this 24-inch bypass water line, which will allow us to continue flow through that 30-inch line while we repair the break that's in that 30-inch water line. Our next term is secondary raw water line. If you look at the second image, the map, you'll see a blue line. That is generally the path that the 42-inch secondary raw water line is taking from the Colorado River, again, up to Lake Pflugerville. So that 42-inch raw water line, secondary raw water line, is taking the same path, generally the same path as the existing 30-inch raw water line. Our final term is Colorado River Pump Station. Again, looking at that map, you'll see a red box. The red box signifies the Colorado River Pump Station, which is adjacent to the river, and it sucks water from the Colorado River through the 30-inch existing raw water line and eventually through the 42-inch secondary raw water line from the Colorado River up again north to Lake Pflugerville. So we're accustomed to seeing the image, the first image, which is Lake Pflugerville. We go there, enjoy Lake Pflugerville, recreate there. However, that was not the original intent for the lake. The original intent was to serve as a reservoir. So it was designed to store or to reserve water that is being transported from the Colorado River, and it will eventually be used for consumption. That was the original intent. So moving forward, Matt Rector will discuss the existing challenges.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So as you've heard, the secondary raw water line is in construction. It's been in construction since 2024. The current restrictions that are in place are not the result of one event. It is actually several distinct events that have happened, and so it's not one prolonged outage, it is actual several breaks. So I'm going to walk you through those just for clarity.
And Director, I know you have been here a little bit longer than Assistant City Manager Roberts. Again, for the benefit of the folks out here, can you tell us how long you've been on the job?
Yes, sir, I've been here 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
So the first break that happened, it happened in September of 2025, and the way it kind of played out was as you see in the first image on the screen there, you see that large metal plate. As the contractor was trying to excavate for the secondary raw water line, they discovered a heavy metal plate that nobody knew existed previously. So as they were trying to hoist that up out of the ground, the rigging broke, the plate fell, striking our existing 30-inch water line, breaking it. You can see the flooded hole in the second image, and then you can see the excavation that happened to get down to the pipes, or the water line, sorry, so that we could repair it. That repair took 12 days, and after the repair was completed, we turned the pump station back on. Until we found a second break in November 2025. And so, you know, when you have this type of an event, think about it as a long, you could think of a teeter-totter, a skateboard, or any number of long, rigid objects. And you drop something heavy on one end, there's a vibration of events that's going to happen there. And so this second break was found in November. It took us 17 days to repair it. The pump station was turned back on and continued to pump until the third break, which was in January of 2026. This break was in a similar location. You can see that they had to dig down pretty deep. It took us about 17 days to repair it. And when I say repair, they actually did weld the plate on to fix the water line itself. The issue comes in that while the contractor was prepping to backfill around the ends of the water line, and for those of you who don't speak engineer, when you are dealing with a water line of this magnitude, you typically want to put some sort of restraining mechanism at the ends so that the pipe doesn't shift and move around. Unfortunately, the pump station was activated prematurely, creating this fourth break. Now, let me point you back to the first three. So keep in mind, the first three happened in September, November, and January. So that's relatively lower water demand. Some of that is your winter averaging, so people aren't using as much water anyway. The fourth break happened in February, still in your winter averaging. And so when this event occurred, we had no indication originally that this was going to be any different than the others. And you saw 17 days, 12 days, 17 days. We originally thought that this was going to be a similar repair. And in a moment, I will get to you the details of why this was not the same thing.
I did have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
So it was basically on the 17th day, or when it was repaired, it was damaged, or there was another issue. So what were the pumps ever turned on after the 17 days for the January issue?
They were turned on that one time that created the fourth break.
But the lake was never filled after that. But
Correct.
it was after the first two times.
Correct. We were using the pump station. I would not say the lake was
Okay, I
filled.
see. Sorry,
Yes.
the pump station were in use. Water was going into the lake after the
Correct.
first repair, after the second repair. But
Correct.
after the third repair, the water was never filled or delivered to the lake because of the fourth issue.
Correct.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, Director, because you said this is a rigid pipe, and there was that one impact that we know about in September, we don't know if at that point the other two, the second and third breaks actually happened then as a result of the vibration, or if it weakened the pipe further on that it and then the actual breaks occurred later, or the breaks all happened at once and we just discovered them later. Is that correct?
That's correct. We don't know.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So this prolonged period of not being able to use the pump station has led to a decline in the water volume. Obviously, because we can't, this is a man-made lake with no natural filling potential. So if we can't use the pump station, there's no water coming into it. But it should be noted that just looking at the lake from, say, the shoreline or the beach or the trails, it can be a little, I don't know if misleading is the right word, but when you have a small change in the vertical elevation of the water level, that can result in a large change horizontally in what it looks like where the water is at. So because of this, staff was tracking the water volume in the lake through other methodologies, which leads me up to why we went from stage 1 to stage 3 so rapidly. So this is generally the timeline. February 6th, the fourth break was identified. At that time, we started trying to excavate and uncover the leak so that we could do a repair. The process of trying to dig down to get to the leak was strenuous, to say the least. So let me paint a picture for you. This pipeline, this water line, is buried 20 plus feet below ground. So we had to excavate down 20 plus feet on each side of the creek just to try to figure out where the leak was. That took us a little while because not only are you worried about getting all, and you've seen the previous pictures where you have the caissons and everything trying to hold the dirt back so the guys can get down in the hole to keep digging.
And which creek is this?
This is off of Boggy Creek.
Boggy Creek, which is about a quarter mile from the Colorado River in Austin?
Yes, sir. And so because this was taking a longer time than we had hoped, we began on February 10th putting the design together for a temporary bypass design just in case we found things that we didn't anticipate. It was like a precautionary measure. At the same time, we wanted to get a better feel for what the lake actually was doing. And so we had the digital sources, we had the gauge on the intake, but we wanted to see what it was like under the water. So we started working with divers to try to get them in the lake so we could get an idea in the lake how deep everything actually was. Now, at the same time, we're watching all the data and we're starting to see an uptick in your demand. So it was warm in February, spring's right around the corner, people are starting to anticipate, they're starting to try to do lawn work and all that kind of stuff a little early. So we were seeing that increase in demand there. So we began talking about the idea of going into stage 1 restrictions.
And that's partly because this February was unusually warm.
Yes, sir. Then on February 17th, the fourth break was finally located. As I said, it was 20 plus feet down. Unfortunately, when we got down there, we figured out the leak is actually under the creek inside the casing pipe that conveys the water line across the creek, which means it's not as easy and convenient to repair as the previous 3. On February 18th, the divers that we had asked for were in the lake looking at the water levels. On March 1st, we implemented stage 1 water restrictions. On March 3rd, we got the diver report back, which indicated that we had significantly less water than we had originally thought. So then on March 4th, we declared stage 3 water restrictions be initiated. And with that, I'll turn it back over. So we can
I do
talk
have
about the
a
road
question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the time from when the divers took the measurements and the report was received, it's a little less than 2 weeks. Is that a normal turnaround time?
Yeah, that's about average for the diver company to be able to take the pictures, process everything, get us the report, get us all the data back. That's about the average that we see on a normal basis.
Thank you.
I'm guessing that's because of the complexity of what they're looking at and what they have to produce and then actually give a specific assessment on that, right?
Yeah, so in the report, they talk about our existing infrastructure, what they're seeing. They give us pictures of what, and I mean, I don't know how many of you are divers, but this is not clear water that they're diving in. It's dark, murky water. And so when they give us pictures, most of us can't even tell what the picture is until they like spell it out very clearly for us. And so it takes them a little while to process that and put it all into words that somebody's going to understand when reading the report.
So now we'll talk about what we're doing, what measures we're taking to recover from these efforts. So to ensure that we continue to meet water supply demands, we have, as you can see in the first photo, we have put both of our well sites back online. Combined, they will supply up to 1.2 million gallons of water. These wells are cut off during our low demand periods, which are generally our winter, which is generally our winter period, to meet high demand months during the summer. This allows the aquifer from which we receive our well water to recharge. Just to let everyone know, an aquifer is a pocket of water that is below ground. The depth below ground can vary. Another thing that we have done is to increase our daily water purchase from the Manville water system, and we are maximizing the use of this water to the extent possible. And thirdly, as we've already discussed, we have constructed a temporary bypass water line. This is the 24-inch bypass water line that again reroutes the water that's flowing through the 30-inch existing water line around the break so that our contractor can repair that break in that 30-inch water line.
So the combination of the well site, the Manville interconnect, and then once we get it, the temporary bypass water line, how does that compare to usual consumption of water in Pflugerville? Is it more or less? If you add
Can you
those three
explain what you
numbers
mean
together.
by how does it compare to
you're asking
consumption?
replacement.
Is the sum of the gallons that we get from the well site and the interconnect and the bypass water line, is that more or less than normal Pflugerville water consumption? Is it more or less than a projected Pflugerville water consumption when we're at phase 3 restrictions?
It is less than. Yes, sir. Anyone want to?
I mean, what I would say is that current demand is about 4.5 MGD. Those together, if they're all working together in unison, is about 8 MGD. If they're all rocking and rolling at the same time.
If all of these are working, it's about 80% of what we need.
No, we would actually be gaining a little bit.
That's what he
Right,
was.
but we're trying to gain hundreds of millions of gallons. But
Okay.
all three of these are online. It's closer to 8 million gallons per day. In consumption in conservation mode is about 4.5 MGD. We were above 6 million MGD before we went into restrictions.
Okay.
So to your point, David, you're wondering whether or not, given this severity of the situation, are we able to actually, for better lack of a term, rescue where we're at to try to see if we can actually push things forward or back? And that's why you would want this at, have level 3, stage 3, because you want to be able to actually recoup some of that specific water in our system while actually still maintaining the ability for our citizens to utilize them.
That's right. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later too.
Yeah, what I heard is that all three of these recovery mechanisms, they working at optimal efficiency are more than adequate to sustain the current water demand.
Yeah, that's correct.
At stage 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
But until the bypass water line is completed, we are lowering our lake level every day. Is that correct?
So once these are all online, once that bypass, the first two are online right now.
Yeah.
Right.
But the first two online is
two.
not adequate.
Yeah.
No.
We have to have that third one.
Right. So we're losing ground right now. Once we get the bypass in place, we'll be gaining ground. But again, we're talking a couple million gallons per day when we're trying to recover hundreds of millions of gallons per day. So it's not time to celebrate yet, but we would start to see that we're gaining ground again.
Very, very slowly.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So moving forward, Chief will talk about enforcement.
So good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to say that in the 6 days since we've been in stage 3 restriction, we've had 0 citations that we've had to issue for non-compliance with the restrictions. We've made contact with code enforcement with 117 businesses or residential consumers of water. We have had great coordination and response from our community in understanding the urgency of this situation and coming into compliance. We've had a couple instances where maybe some consumers didn't understand how to control irrigation systems. We made contact with them personally and found opportunity to show them how to help meet the demands of our system and do what we're trying to do to get the situation under control. Our community and business partners together have been phenomenal. The willingness to say, yes, we understand, and coming alongside of us and helping us be successful in this endeavor has been exceptional.
And how many reports did you receive in the last day?
So, great question. Thank you for that. In the last day's report that came in today, there were 0 reports from the information that tells us if irrigations are running at a residential property or not. So, and that's amazing that we've had that.
That says
That's
something
great
about-
compliance.
It says a lot about our citizens.
So this is a way to visualize the impact of conservation. So you see us entering in stage 1 on March 1st, and we're a little over 6 MGD. So 1 million gallons per day when you hear us say MGD. So we're a little over 6 MGD on the 1st, and you can see the immediate kind of impact of conservation taken into effect. And then we go into stage 3 on the 4th of March, and you can see that continues to decline. What you'll notice on the 7th is that we go up a little bit before we go back down. The reason for that is it's just part of the process of bringing our wells online. So there's the south standpipe that's near Heather Wild and Settlers Valley that needed to be drained and refilled with this well water so we could start using that within the system. And so that's just a reflection of that, not conservation. That's our use of actually getting the wells online. And so we're seeing that nice decline there. It's approaching closer to winter usage. You would see kind of the low 4s MGD during winter averaging, as it was alluded to earlier. So that's promising. The other thing I would say on that is I think the big question is, and kind of speaking to what we're talking to about the delta between what we're bringing in versus what we're taking out, is when are we going to lift stage 3? That's the question that we're asked most often. And the answer is it's going to be a while. While we will be gaining some ground once that bypass is online, understand that we're only bringing in maybe 3 million gallons a day above what we're using when we're trying to recover hundreds of millions of gallons. And that's also assuming that stays functional. We're talking about a 20-year-old pipe. We're talking about a brand new bypass. We're talking about pressurizing and depressurizing this pipeline as we cycle the pumps on and off. So nothing is promised tomorrow. And so assuming that we can keep that operational and there's no further issues, it's going to take quite some time to recover. What we're ultimately looking towards is the secondary raw water line. And this council has been forward thinking in funding that secondary pipeline. Not only does that increase the ability to transfer water, but it's resiliency, right? Next time something like this happens, we're not in the same boat. We just continue to keep providing service. So that will be the real fix. And so we're not out of the woods until that is conveying water.
I think one thing that stands out to me too is that even with the stage 3 restrictions, we're still roughly using the same amount of water that we do in the low season. So thankfully, I guess we're making up for it being warmer, to what Director Rector was saying earlier. But I think that it struck me, I guess I should say, that we're really only still at a winter average usage, and we haven't dipped below that given how stringent the restrictions are. Although, to Chief's point, I'm very glad that our residents have been very compliant with that.
So we hope to be flowing water sometime this week, and just the work to get to that point has been incredible, because as soon as we got the call, it's like, what can we do to work as many hours as we can? And you're trying to fuse a pipe that can only be fused when it's dry. And we've had some weather. And so it's been a race against the clock to beat the weather to get to where we are today. So we hope to be able to communicate this week that we're conveying water. But again, not yet time to celebrate. We got a long way to go.
So just for summary, if I did my math right, we've had through today, we've had 50 days of where we haven't been able to pump water into the lake. And so that's what we're going to have to be making up once we get the temporary water line in place until we're able to get a permanent fix as well.
That's probably a fairly good measure. Just consider the increased use that we were starting to see because of the early.
That's what I was going to say. That's the only thing I was
getting warmer a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Before I go over to the next slide for FAQs, there's another frequently asked question: was this going to do to my rates? The short answer is it's not going to affect your rates. Why? Because it's a one-time emergency expense. This is why you have a fund balance. This is why you have reserves. That's why they require that 25%. So when something like this happens, you can utilize those funds, but it's not something that you would budget for and set a rate to that would be reoccurring year to year. So it's a one-time expense. We'll cover it, absorb it, and move forward with the same rates.
So our citizens won't see an increase in rates?
Not as a result of this.
Okay.
That's right. Okay, so rolling into our FAQs, our comms team came up for air long enough to make these slides. These are kind of our top 4 that we've seen, other than the other 2 that I mentioned. So data centers has been a hot topic. If you Google that, you'll get a variety of answers ranging from thousands to millions of gallons a day. We're fortunate that we have very modern facilities in the city of Pflugerville that are closed loop. We have 2 that are online currently and a 3rd that will be online soon. The first one uses 7 gallons a day. So an extremely efficient facility. The second one uses about 1,000 gallons a day, which is very similar to like a dental office or maybe 3 homes. So again, not a big user because it's a closed loop system. The third one will be like unto the second because it's the same company, very similar structure.
Do we know when that third one will come online?
Ooh, I need to phone a friend on that one. Next couple months.
Okay, so we should be in a much better place by that time.
Sir. Okay, so that's data centers. The other one is, well, the recent rain helped. We're good, right? It rained a whole bunch. Well, this isn't a lake that gets fed by a river that would receive the rainwaters, right? So maybe a little bit that fell on the lake, maybe a little bit of stormwater runoff from adjacent neighborhoods, but this is not receiving river water directly. If the pump system is not on and that pipe is intact, it's not receiving water that it needs to be constantly refilled to the tune of millions of gallons a day to maintain that level. So the rain does not make a noticeable difference.
To clarify, because I don't think we talked about it this time, the wells in Manville go directly to water customers. They do not go to the lake.
That's right. They integrate directly into the system. So what all that does is it reduces the amount of water that we need to take from the lake.
And just to expand on your last point, this is not a lake in a river.
That's right.
Pflugerville, unlike Round Rock, Georgetown, Austin, we don't have a river that goes through here. That lake is filled entirely by the water that we get from the Colorado River. So when those pumps and those lines are not functioning, we're not getting additional water in Lake Pflugerville. And that's why it's so critical to have those online, because the wells and the Manville combined provide only a small fraction of the amount of water that people in Pflugerville use every day. So this is a very important moment for us to get that extra capacity. And as you say, Deputy Manager Hartshorn, having that resiliency when we get the new pipe in place will help to reduce the likelihood of a future event like this.
That's correct.
Now, the redundancy is important. It's the reason why we pay acute attention to anything that happens to the Colorado River when it comes to those things, because that's where the folks should be looking at when it comes to issues regarding money.
That's right. Okay. A couple more. Why was the lake lowered? I had friends that asked me when I saw them, like, did you lower the lake because there's construction at the lake? And the answer is no. The construction activity that you see on the south side, there's all the orange fencing, there's a big concrete slab that's related to the outfall of the secondary raw water line. That's where that will tie in and dump more water into the lake. So there's never a reason for us to lower the lake level intentionally to do construction or to service it in any way. So it was not intentionally lowered. It is purely to your point of like, it's not being fed by the pipeline. That's the only reason why it's so low. The other one that we'll touch on is, can't the water from the wells in Manville refill the lake? So to your point, Councilmember Rogers, those together are about 2 MGD. And in conservation mode, we're taking out more than 4 MGD. Yeah. So we're losing ground every day, even with those online. So it's slowing the decline of the lake. Okay. There we go. All right, communications efforts. So part of that misconception, particularly the one about construction, if you Google it, AI is pulling from Reddit and all sorts of sources which are not reliable. If you want reliable, up-to-date information, is always from a city source, which is going to be our website.
Can you say that again?
Which part? If you want reliable information, go to the city website. AI is, you can't trust where AI is pulling information from. And so we are updating this constantly. We have a stellar communications team that is scouring literally thousands of comments, looking for those frequently asked questions and adding them to this website. And so we're constantly pushing people and adding. There's more than 30 FAQs on there right now from a variety of topics. And so please use that as your trusted source. You can imagine in that 24 hours between when we knew what the capacity of the lake was from the divers to when we actually announced stage 3, it was all hands on deck.
Yeah.
And it's creating the most accurate information that we had available at the time and pushing it out as fast as we can. It's a balance between accuracy and speed. You don't want to move too fast, but you don't want perfection to get in the way of getting something out so people know what to expect.
Absolutely.
And so it was Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, X, website, PF alerts, water smart notifications. We're reaching out to HOA leaders. We looked at the top irrigation users and proactively reached out to them saying, please make sure you cut these off. Flyers at the lake, flyers at the different parks. The other thing we can touch on with FAQs is the parks. 1849 receives water from Manville, and it's water that can no otherwise be utilized for the city. It's a separate pipe. We couldn't turn it around and put it back in the system if we wanted to. So for that reason, we're going to continue to water 1849 because y'all have invested a lot of money in that. And to not water those fields, you would imagine the subsidence and the breaks in the irrigation lines and everything that comes with that. And so we're continuing to maintain those fields, not at the traditional higher level of water, but what is needed just to kind of maintain it.
Are we going to be able to water the other parks?
Yes.
And are we going to be able to water the other parks in the city while this goes on?
So the other parks will not receive water.
That's what he's about to say.
1849 is the exception, only because it's a source that we could not otherwise use. If we could use it, we would, but we can't. And so
James,
we're
I think
gonna make use of it.
I think that brings up a good point. You're talking about that source being something that we can't otherwise use. There are folks in our community who are served by Manville. I think the Black Hawk area in particular. So since they get their water from Manville, that's also a source that we're not otherwise using. They are not affected by these restrictions nor this concern. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. And there's a tool on our website where you can type in your address and it'll pull up who your water provider is if you have any questions.
Which I really do appreciate because folks, where I live, they were asking the same questions, and I had to tell them, no, we get our water from Manville, so it's different onus. And from everything that Manville's saying is that they're not anticipating any restriction right now with that as well. Going back to Councilman Rogers' point, as somebody who has their kid play and practice out there at Wells Point Park, every day, it's a sacrifice, but realistically speaking, I mean, we've got to make some sacrifices now, for our community to be able to go and get where we need to be for that. So I understand we will probably likely hear from the soccer teams and the football teams and other things about that right now. But as you heard, let's make sure it's clear, there's a different water source for 1849 Park. As Manville, it's not the same from the city of Pflugerville. So consequently, if you start to play and you see things out there, some erosion, it's not that we're trying to create one field differently than the other ones right there. It's just the reality of the situation is what water is actually being utilized at what facility.
Yeah. So tie a bow on that. So the other fields will not be watered.
Yeah.
But we'll play them as long as we can safely. And Shane has a creative team. They're going to do what they can to maximize the use of those fields, but they are going to get beat up a bit
They're
without
going to get
being
crispy.
watered. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just to clarify. There's also a different water provider on the west side of the city limits.
Right.
Correct. Was it Texas?
Southwest Water.
Southwest
Utilities.
Okay, Texas Water Utilities. I'm hearing a couple different names, but Texas Water
Well,
Utilities.
it's gone through a couple of iterations.
Windermere.
Southwest,
Yeah.
Windermere, yes.
Yeah.
And they are a purchaser of our water. We have turned that off. So
So
to the extent that we've been selling water, we have turned that off. So there are no other providers that are taking water from us. That's been kind of a misconception too.
Thank you for bringing that up as well.
So if we have the ability to turn it off, we have turned it off, if it exists at all.
But those individuals who may be served by Texas Water Utilities, formerly Southwest Water, again, their water source is not under current restrictions.
That's correct. That's correct. If in doubt, plug in your address on the website. It'll tell you. If it says Pflugerville, it applies to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kim, do you have a question?
I did. I just wanted to clarify. Many people, our residents, are receiving information from sources other than directly from our website. If you could just clarify how much water supply we have. We've read 3 weeks. Can you clarify how much water we actually have at this time?
So, I mean, we could speak to the depth of the lake, but again, this all depends on the over-under, on how much are we taking out versus how much we're putting in. Once we have that bypass in place, and we maintain conservation at current levels, we will be gaining ground slowly, but we'll be gaining ground. So we can provide the water that we need in Pflugerville.
Thank you so much. And while we've said several times that it's not really time to celebrate, I feel that right now gratitude is also really important. And so I want to thank our water experts, our staff, our city manager, our mayor, for many nights of tireless efforts as we address this state of emergency here in Pflugerville. We are so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
James, so I think a good rule of thumb or a good number would be that, as you said, about the 4 MGDs, which is what we try to take out every day. So if we're beating that, that means that we're making sure we're surely working for that. So it's a good baseline for our citizens to look at when it comes to what they're thinking about regarding that number that the Mayor Pro Tem was talking about, reference to. And I'm assuming the website where they can plug in and find real information, pflugervilletx.gov/water restrictions.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good place to go. Let me go to the next slide here. So
There we go.
thank you for that segue. So these are all the places, most of the places you can connect, but if you go to the bottom one, /connect, that'll give you links, quick links to get tied into all of our different sources of information. That website at the top, /water restrictions, that's where you'll find the FAQ, that's where you'll find maps, that's where you can find the link to the tool to put in your address and so forth to find your provider. So with that, just continue to hammer the message of please conserve. Those that are sharing our message, please share messages from our website of those approved messages with the correct information. And thank you to our customers. Please continue to serve. And with that, I'll hand it off to our city manager to close us out.
We do really want to thank a lot of partners that stepped up to the call of action and helped us while we went through this. Special thanks to Mayor Weiss for getting a hold of Congressman Pete Sessions and to Pete Sessions for his office making contact with our water line manufacturer to support some expedited delivery of our existing raw water line. Thank you to our partners at TCQ and LCRA that immediately reached out as well and offered assistance. Special thanks to PFISD who immediately acted and turned off their irrigation prior to us even announcing. Thank you to our neighboring cities in the region who have reached out and asked how they could assist. Thanks to ESD2 for also taking that call and highly supporting us throughout this effort. Really big thanks to Manville Water, Texas Water Utilities, and STV is here as our owner's rep, who were quick to act and assist as we needed. Thank you to WaterSmart, our software, and for the customers that use WaterSmart and are able to monitor their water use. It's been a great tool for customers and also helped us spread the message quickly. Thank you to our media partners. We have had many conversations with media. We're thankful for them to share the message as well. We really want to thank our residents for those that have also helped share the message, those that have stayed informed, and those that are helping friends and understanding the importance for water restrictions. A truly heartfelt thank you to the staff that I see here tonight that has been in meetings nonstop and focused on solutions. And you won't find a team that is more committed to the service delivery of excellent service to our citizens and the people sitting in this room that are doing this day in and day out. This is where local government does its best work. In an effort to find solutions, they buckle down, they get the work done, and they see a real community at work helping neighbors help each other. I'm thankful to be here and thankful for the work that they've done.
Thank you, Ms. Breland. I also want to mention I would not have expected to issue a disaster declaration so early in my tenure. We do not do it lightly. It was not something I had hoped to do, as mentioned. But it was something that was required to deal with this critical situation, to, if nothing else, get the attention. And I am thankful for the citizens responding with such diligence to reduce their water use so that we can weather this event. At this point, we do have a handful of folks who have signed up for public comment on this item. I will be taking public comment on this particular item. General public comment will occur in a few moments. But if you did not yet sign up, I will be calling you forward generally, and you will be able to still make that comment. The first person I have signed up is Mr. Keith Drown. If you would come forward, you'll have 3 minutes to speak during public comment.
Good evening. As the mayor said, my name's Keith Brown. I'm really here primarily to talk about communication concerning this event. I would like to encourage transparency, accountability, and clear communication to improve public trust in the management of our most critical infrastructure. First of all, I want to thank Council Members Ryan and Kaufman for taking the time to communicate publicly about the circumstances that led to the emergency disaster declaration and Stage 3 water restrictions. I'd also like to thank the mayor for responding to my emails. Many residents remain frustrated and concerned due to the lack of consistent public communication from our city leadership and staff. Our trusted source, the website, last I checked, was updated last Friday. And it doesn't provide sufficient information about what's going on. Like I heard tonight for the first time that the bypass line is not in service, and it was supposed to be in service today. Pflugerville residents pay one of the highest municipal water and sewer rates in Texas. Therefore, it's reasonable to expect both reliable infrastructure and clear communication when problems occur. We are now facing a failure involving a 30-inch pipeline that supplies Lake Pflugerville, one of the most critical pieces of water infrastructure serving this community. As we just heard, a contractor damaged this line in September during excavation for the new raw water pipeline. 2 additional leaks were subsequently discovered, and they may have been related to that original damage. A 4th leak discovered later has been described as occurring after pumps were operated while repair work was still ongoing. When a single piece of infrastructure is this critical to the city's water supply, residents expect strong safeguards and transparent communication when problems occur. In situations like this, standard practice is to identify the root cause, implement corrective actions, and ensure safeguards are in place to prevent reoccurrence. So I have 5 questions. First, will the city commit to providing the public a root cause analysis and corrective action report? Second, why was additional damage not identified when the initial break occurred in September? Third, what lessons have been learned and actions implemented to prevent further failures on this critical piece? Fourth, the temporary bypass line is reportedly 24 inches in diameter, which would provide roughly 60 to 65% of the normal flow capacity. Once the bypass line is operational, I encourage the city to develop specific criteria when we can exit Stage 3 water restrictions. Fifth, what criteria will be used to end the emergency disaster declaration? Infrastructure failures may occur, but transparency and accountability should not fail. Residents deserve clear and consistent information during a crisis like this. Daily public updates from the city would go a long way towards restoring confidence and ensuring that the facts, not speculation, guide the public conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Drown. The next person I have to speak on this item is Raj Galashi.
Yes. Hey everybody, thank you for inviting me to speak on behalf of the community and the city. thank you, Mayor, for responding to my emails, and thank you, Melody, and thank you, Emily, for responding to my emails. My primary concern about this water line was that I believe, based on the research I did, sir, that there is a secondary line being under construction from the Colorado River, which is expected to be completed in like 2026 and 2027. Would this line be sufficient enough to provide, to prevent like any future disaster that based on what recently happened? And are there any future long-term plans to encourage anything that prevents, because every year Texas definitely faces like constant drought. So is city doing anything to encourage groundwater harvesting or something like that can help to people to take care of their yards and everything, any long-term plans on that? That's my primary question.
I mean, it's a topic. Okay, master plans. Yeah. We do have our master plans. I can comment that the secondary raw water line carries twice the capacity as the existing raw water line. And we do have, in terms of landscaping, I would encourage you to look into I can't remember what it's called, drop-by-drop program or whatever it's called now, our landscape rebate, which also provides for rebates for drought resilient landscape replacement.
Okay. So, rain barrels too.
Rain barrels.
Rain barrels.
We've been doing that for several years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Those were the two filled out comment cards that I had. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to make public comment at this time? Come on forward. Please state your name. Sir, thank you for being here with us tonight.
Definitely. Shooting from the hip here, don't have notes, so I'll go ahead and present myself as Scott Stieferman, citizen, nothing more than just a concerned member of the community. I think there's a couple things that were led tonight that we haven't seen before, and that was communication on the dates. Those dates that were presented were very unique to me, in a sense that the city could have taken, in my opinion, they could have taken some ownership for the past series of events and either taken credit for identifying, building trust, or communicating that we found these problems and we corrected these problems. We waited until the declaration to more or less as a community learn of the problems, right? We didn't see a timeline. We didn't see a chart. A lot of people were digging through a lot of data points to try and figure out what was missing, what was happening. Why did we have to go through the effort of digging through stuff? I am very glad that we got to see change order number 7. It put dates to things. Not all the dates, not as many dates as what were presented on that slide up there. But I guess the goal and the intention is, y'all got to build trust. The community is too far at a lapse of why again, why again, why again, why again, to take into consideration that, well, y'all have known about this for how long? And it wasn't presented, and it wasn't necessarily, it doesn't have to be a win that y'all fixed leak number 1. It doesn't have to be a win that y'all fixed leak number 2. It's the opinion that we found out about leak number 2 and we have these corrective actions. We should have started stage 1 sooner, right? Or is March 1st the typical stage 1 start time? What about stage 2? What about, why did it take a contractor 30 days to provide a change order with details on it that apparently seem like the descriptors that occurred prior to that February event? That metal plate, the breakage, those kind of mismatch if I were to give a outside opinion of what's being described. That's just us looking through stuff. You know, when we go back to the Wayback Machine and we look at when 2004, when the lake was first built, what did it say? Community Impact did some kind of report that said it took like 4 or 5 months to fill up the lake from that 30-inch pipe. Now we're compromising 30 down to 24, and we're saying that we're hopeful to get out of stage 3. But what does that mean? That means we're producing 60% of the water, and we have to feed the utility, not just fill up the lake.
Right.
So our delay in filling up the lake takes us into summertime, and it takes us into that season where y'all are scared that we're going to overutilize. The other thing is, of all of the LCRA lakes or other Central Texas lakes, Decker, whatever, they all have mean, they have average, they have daily, they have metrics that show up and down, high, low, whenever they were super low. If that's my beeper, I can.
You can finish your sentence.
Why doesn't Lake Pflugerville have that? Why don't we have the infrastructure that tells us what our current rate is right now and what our minimum draw or minimum pool or minimal, what do you call it, the pipe to the utility? What is that minimum? And I'm not saying that we need to be able to calculate against that to say like, oh, well, April 18th is drop dead. But that was the date that was previously communicated. So we're at a stage right now where we don't know, and everybody's worried, are we going to consume it faster? Are we going to consume it slower? Are we going to cut back on our rates to be able to not consume as much? But without those metrics, everybody's going to guess. Everybody's going to make an assumption. It's like, why, if we just had that normal pool is X, we're currently at Y, and if we get to Z, not good. So,
All right.
I appreciate the time, appreciate the option to speak.
Thank you, Scott. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak at this time? All right. I thank you all for being here. I thank you all for taking an interest in this item. My biggest request for assistance from our citizens is that you continue to share the message. Make sure that you are conserving. Make sure that that your friends know that they need to conserve in order to get us through this time. With that, I will move all the way back on my agenda to item number 3. Item number 3 is public comment. This is general public comment. We have one person signed up to speak on during public comment. If there's anyone else, I'll call you shortly after this. I do believe I have to read the, where's
Disclaimer.
my disclaimer? So my public comment disclaimer on general public comment is that in accordance with the Texas Attorney General opinion, any public comment that is made on an item that is not on the published final agenda will only be heard by the council. No formal action, discussion, deliberation, or comment will be made by the city council. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. I have a form from Jay Howard. Would you like to speak?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jay Howard. I'm with Texas Disposal Systems at 12200 Carl Road in Creedmoor, excuse me. So TDS is a solid waste and recycling services company based here in the Austin area. Been in business for almost 50 years. And we're anticipating seeing an RFP from the city of Pflugerville this week. We're very much looking forward to for about a decade and a half. We've been looking forward to the opportunity to compete for your business. But we learned in the last couple of days that the city's gone a different direction and decided to negotiate with the current service provider, which is 100% your prerogative. Disappointment to me personally, but 100% your prerogative. But I wanted to come tonight and just express a couple things. One, since the new negotiated contract is in the packet, we had a chance to review it. And, you know, for a city the size of Pflugerville, I was kind of astonished that you're not getting more bang for the buck in the contract that's been negotiated. In fact, as far as I can tell, and I've got a pretty good finger on the pulse of the market, there are fewer services offered to your residents here in the city of Pflugerville than any other city in this region. Your solid waste services to trash is limited to cart only once per week. Recycle is limited to cart only every other week. Most other communities in the area have opportunities for bulky pickup that's baked into the rate, for additional volumes of materials like recycling that's baked into the rate, leaf pickup, all sorts of different services that are typically offered for residential communities. For an example, we take care of the folks in Georgetown. Our rate is a little bit higher than what's been proposed in this package. I think about less than $1 more, 80 cents-ish. In addition to the weekly trash, they have the opportunity to have bulky pickup 4 times per year. Once per month, they have leaf pickup, up to 20 bags of leaf and yard waste. With the recycling, they're able to put cardboard outside of their cart to be picked up, because that's often the bulky item that takes up the space, and every other week that's oftentimes not significant enough. So that's one of our customers. One of your current service providers' customers, the city of Taylor, about a quarter the size of Pflugerville. They have the once a week trash, but their residents are able to put out 5 additional bags on top of that. They've got the every other week recycle. The residents in Taylor can put out a bulky item every week if they wanted to. And they're not paying, 30-40% more. They're paying a penny more than what y'all have been able to negotiate with your current service provider. There are differences there. I mean, both of those communities I listed also have commercial services as part of their package, and that allows you to kind of shift some of the costs a little bit. But the city of Pflugerville has enough buying power that you ought to be able to get more. And it's not too late if the city decided to put their finger on the pulse of the market and find out what competition would bring to the table to do so. There's still enough time before the end of this contract. So that would be my ask. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. That's the only other card that I had received for public comment. Is there anyone else in the public wishing to speak during public comment? Seeing none, council, we will move to the consent agenda. Are there any items wishing to be pulled from the consent agenda?
5D.
Anything else? Trista, will you do me the favor of reading the consent agenda?
Yes, I have item 5D pulled from consent agenda. 5A is approving an ordinance on first reading with a caption reading an ordinance of the City of Pflugerville, Texas, granting a franchise agreement for the collection, hauling, recycling, and disposal of municipal solid waste and recyclable materials to Waste Connections Lone Star, Inc., and providing terms and conditions of the franchise grant, establishing a term of the franchise, and providing an effective date. Again, 5D has been pulled to the consent agenda. All remaining items may be acted upon in a single motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from David, a second from Kim. And the consent agenda passes unanimously. That brings us to item 6A. 6A is to discuss and consider action to approve a resolution authorizing by section 418.108B of the Texas Government Code, continuing and renewing the mayor's disaster declaration issued on March 4th, 2026 regarding the imminent public water supply failure.
Mayor, given the situation and the briefing that we've had right now, would you entertain a motion?
I would. I may offer an amendment, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Your own declaration. Okay.
Well, I will mention ahead of time. I think right now the declaration extension is currently unbounded until otherwise canceled. On advice of our council, I recommend we put at least a 60-day expiration on that, so that we
reconvene and see.
We reconvene. We make sure that we have a target date.
Okay.
And then also there was a discussion item about the limits of the declaration. Does it say City of Pflugerville versus the CCN area? I wasn't. I haven't had time to revisit it after that comment was made, but just wanted to make sure that
I would seek advice from our council.
Well, we can look at that issue. I think the important thing too is, from what I understand, staff wanted there to be more of a automatic termination date after 60 days, and so I think that's what staff is recommending.
Okay.
Since we do have that issue about parts of the city like Black Hawk that shouldn't be covered by it, but apparently are as it's written currently, would it be appropriate to have a shorter termination date and then we can reissue with with that corrected language in the next iteration?
I think I'm going to defer to our council. My understanding is that while the declaration is citywide, the impacts of the policies denoted in the declaration are limited in scope to the scope of the emergency.
So realistically speaking, one way to put it is that I can say that, hey, no one's driving on a Brooklyn Bridge, but I have no control over the Brooklyn Bridge, so it doesn't matter what I say if I put a declaration for that. So consequently, what he's saying here is that, hey, listen, this declaration's applicable for only parts of the city that are serviced by the city of Pflugerville water. Everything else out there as well.
Is that explicit in the declaration?
That's not in the declaration,
It's
but we
not,
could make
it's not
that.
explicit, but the need to coordinate with TDEM, with TCEQ, with the Texas Water Development Board, those are not limited to certain citizens, right? So I think we could add a stipulation in the future if we find it necessary, but I don't believe it's necessary.
Well, I'm concerned about confusion with water restrictions on people who if you've just spent a bunch of money, and we got at least one email, I think a couple of emails from people who have just spent a bunch of money on landscaping, and they want to be able to water. If those people are at Blackhawk, we should make it clear that those people can water using Blackhawk water.
I think that neighborhood is actually explicitly called out on the city website, if I'm not mistaken. Now, obviously, difficulties getting people to go to the website and the official source. But it is on there.
And there is as it was mentioned earlier, there's a place on the website to put your address in. I still do think an overall map to show the CCN that's visual to people who aren't going to go to the website and dig into the
how people learn. That's fair. Yeah.
I think that would be helpful in answering some of those questions.
I think that is definitely something I would like to see posted on the website. I'm also expecting that the slides from tonight will be available on the website. And David, to your point, I will say the declaration is not the authorizing mechanism for stage 3.
Right.
So the extent of the stage 3 water restriction and the boundaries of that are not necessarily controlled by the declaration.
Okay. So the stage 3 declaration doesn't cover the whole city?
Stage 3
is it
Stage 3 is controlled by our conservation plan, and the boundaries of that would be in our conservation plan.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I understand.
I
understand that. I'm concerned about.
The emergency is citywide, but the restrictions are
And our ability
plan.
to react to the emergency are a citywide concern.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that part of the emergency is, the emergency is not really citywide, because
You're right. I live in the city and it's out there. But I saw you nodding along, and I'm with them. We get on the train when we can. Motion to approve 6A with the amendment that this declaration will end on May 4th, 2026.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Rudy and a second from Jonathan.
And David, I appreciate your thoughts.
And I certainly appreciate that we are. I am learning this as I go. This was not in the training manual.
I am interested in learning more about the assistance that we're going to get from this emergency declaration.
There are many things that, as of tonight, we do not yet know.
Yep.
I imagine we will have many sessions like this over the course of the next several months, as we learn more, as we convey more, and as we ensure we maintain transparency and communication with our citizens.
And one of the things that I do want to reiterate, that I do appreciate from staff, and James, you said it best, is that we're trying as quickly to provide information as accurate as possible with it. So for our citizens, because we have heard it over and over again, we do apologize. We understand your frustration. At times with the speed may not be where you want it to be. we're trying our best to make sure that we only have to answer you once as opposed to come back and say, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Oh, excuse me, I thought of this or this coming out from there as well. But very much appreciate that and working for that as well.
But that's still going to happen.
We
As
know
evolving a situation, we're going to have better information in the future that might.
Don't speak that bad juju in the air.
We
right
know.
We had
know
that
it is a fact.
conversation.
It is a fact that we will answer some questions and we will get those answers wrong.
And then
we will come back with better answers later. But as it is ever evolving, as we are learning new things constantly, we will do the best we can at getting the information out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will this be subject to the next lunch and learn?
No.
I believe it will be much more swift than the next lunch and learn.
Okay. All right.
The next one.
Well, I guess the next lunch and learn is next Monday.
Seems unlikely then. That takes us to item 6B. 6B is to discuss and consider action to approve a change order with S.J. Lewis Construction of Texas Ltd. In the amount of $401,928 for work associated with the secondary Colorado River Raw Water Line Bid Package 3, WA 2201, and authorize the city manager to execute the same. It looks like we have our city engineer here, Mr. Jeff Dunsworth. What can you tell us?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Ms. Breland. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to present. I think you've all been very well informed of the current situation. This is the very critical, important change order that will compensate a contractor for all of the additional work and effort associated with, first off, attempting to, locate the leak. We now know it's not where we thought it was going to be. It's within the casing beneath Boggy Creek has been mentioned. It's approximately 800 to 1,000 feet due north of the pump station, north of Colorado River intake. Our contractor put forth extensive effort. They actually worked around the clock, 24-hour shifts, worked 14 consecutive 12-hour shifts, around the clock crew. I think you saw some of the photos. Those guys would have done micro proud. You would have endorsed those. They were really, really diligent. It wasn't the best situations. They're working in groundwater, shifting sands. They were 20 feet deep. Groundwater was approximately 10 foot deep. Extensive efforts. Efforts included installing specialty fittings to provide the 24-inch bypass. Just to help make some explanation, although the 24-inch pipe is smaller than the 30-inch pipe, it has a different C coefficient factor of friction. It's much smoother. It's capable of moving much more water than the concrete steel cylinder. And the concrete steel cylinder, of course, is 20 years old. There's some tuberculation, some age, some decomposition within the pipe. So it's not our best solution, but it's the best solution we could put forth in such a short manner. It also includes the installation of, excuse my abbreviation there, high-density polyethylene. It's the 24-inch pipe. It's a continuous fused pipe. There's no seams. It's fused, so it's semi-rigid. Just to give you effect of the timeline involved, the surge event occurred on the 6th. 24-hour emergency excavation took place on the 9th through the 17th. At that point, the contractor's trench safety, due to the depth, the shifting sand was compromised. Didn't feel it was safe to keep people in the bottom of the pit. They had completely exposed the pit. Their intent was to expose the casing. We could not, the contractor could not make that happen with his current means and methods. Required some extensive research design on dewatering, more extensive trench safety equipment. At that point, on the 17th, we decided to initiate our bypass design. This was a group effort, involved a cooperation partnership on the contractor's part, our consultant, our director, city staff operation, Ms. Shelby Granger. It was a considerable effort to put together everybody's minds on how we make this happen as quick as we can. Also like to commend the water environmental group with the city of Austin. They gave us authorization for the emergency measures to install the submerged pipeline across Boggy Creek immediately. No permits, no environmental investigation. It's emergency measures. Let us go immediately. It was very great working with their efforts. That occurred on the 18th, and then we initiated the bypass line on the 19th through the 2nd. Understanding that some of these are specialty fittings, actually required dealing with a specialty contractor, specialty supplier, specialty contractor to install them in the field. It's a field fabricated tee. Installation began on the 3rd, complete on the 10th. This completes my presentation. I recommend your approval. I have with me staff, engineering design staff, our owner's rep, city staff to answer any questions. Unfortunately or fortunately, our contractor's not here. They're making wrap-up efforts tonight so we can have a walkthrough and startup measures first thing tomorrow morning.
Really appreciate that.
Glad to hear that.
That says a lot about our contractor.
It does.
Council members, any questions for Mr. Dunsworth?
I have a question. On the change order, is this just for past work, or does this include any costs for the permanent repair?
Great question. Thank you for asking. I'm sorry I did not include that in my presentation. No, this just includes the past and ongoing work. It does not include the new pipe to be installed with the casing. There's still some extensive efforts. As I mentioned, we're going to have to re-excavate, remove the carrier pipe within the casing, install a new pipe. It's a somewhat specialty order, thanks to the mayor, Pete Sessions' office, for making some emergency calls. We were looking at a 6 to 8 week delivery, Mayor, until you made your call. Thank you. We appreciate that.
I'm so glad I could help.
Quick question on that.
Nice to have a senior congressman on board, isn't it?
Is the design work done for the ultimate solution?
It's pretty much straightforward. We have the original lay drawings, the schedule of pipe segments. We know they're precise to the 10th of a foot. We know exactly what pipes there, what pipe length we need. It will come with excuse the term, call it a butt fitting. So you can put two pieces of pipe together end to end. You'll allow a flexible fitting of maybe 1 or 2 feet. The contractor will be allowed to cut that to a precision, and they will field fabricate concrete steel cylinders well to complete the connection. It should go once we get the pipe, get the excavation. It should go rather quickly.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Mayor, would you entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of questions for council. Can we adjourn to executive session for a moment?
You're asking for consultation with legal counsel?
Yes.
8:18, we're going to adjourn to executive session for consultation with legal counsel under 551.071 in the Texas Government Code. 23, we've returned from executive session and no action was taken. We've had prior discussion on this. Is there any further discussion or motions to be had?
Motion to approve 6B is presented.
Second, I'd like to,
further discussion, David?
Yeah, I just want to repeat what I said back there. I'm really, really impressed by these guys and in the whole running 24-hour shifts. That's above and beyond dedication, and my hat goes out to those guys. They stood up in a moment of crisis for the city, and I'm very, very, very thankful. And I am really impressed that the city of Austin gave you no grief about permitting. That astonishes me, and as somebody who lived in the Austin red tape cycle for decades, I am shocked and very grateful for our neighbors to the south.
So are we. Great comment. Thank you.
Call the question.
It's in front of you.
It's literally in front of you. Everyone else has pressed the button.
Well, we were waiting on one more. All right, there we go. Motion passes unanimously. I'm going to take us back briefly to item. Oh, thank you, Jeff. And I echo David's comments. I'm super impressed with the folks who put in hours and hours to help us get through this. Make sure they know my appreciation, and I'm sure there's some cards I'm going to need to send.
Absolutely.
Handwritten.
That's what we do. That being said, we're going to go back real quick to the item pulled from the consent agenda, item 5D, professional services agreement for Terrell Lane extension for engineering services with LJA Engineering in the amount of $177,330. Melody, you asked for this to be pulled. Do you have a question about the item?
Yes, I had sent a question asking for a map of the general area to try to understand.
This is you're familiar with Hobby Lobby?
Yes.
Yes, the extension of that road.
Yeah. I know, but there was multiple discussions about where it was going to go, and I wasn't sure about
Danny,
just the general.
Danny, do you have a map?
In the presentation, yes.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, let's see the map.
Presentation map.
I like how he just takes the seat. He's like,
hey,
there we go.
Krista's got it.
There we go.
Krista's got it.
Sit down.
If they don't need it.
Oh, so it'll eventually link into Kingston Lacey.
Look at that.
That is some great continuity through there.
I remember years ago when Trey talked to me about that part of Kingston Lacey. You know, the folks can be driving through that.
I like that we depict it as a roundabout.
What happened?
I do.
Are you sure we're not calling it roundabout capital?
No, there's someone who's got us beat. Melody, with this map, does that satisfy your curiosity?
Well,
Or do you have further questions?
I do have questions about, is there projected development in this area where the landowner is wanting this road? Just wondering if we've been coordinating with them.
I think David Rogers and I both can attest to the fact that the land developer where this road is coming from is looking at different options. And we'll see where they go. But those conversations are being had with PCDC.
So, why are we doing this now?
So one of the I asked some questions on this as well. One of the answers I got was that, as you may be aware, FM 685 is going to require quite extensive work as we expand it. We will likely have limited access on FM 685. This provides relief to that route. People will be able to have another avenue to get, I'm going to say, in and out of Stonehill because that backs up quite a bit. But also before we start closing lanes in order to expand things on 685, it would be nice if we could have some plans in place to alleviate the burden.
So if we do this study now, are we going to be building this road before we get to start doing the 685 closures and expansions? What's our timeline look like?
Go ahead, Danny, if you have that.
For the record, Danny McGee, Director of Traffic and Transportation. The goal here is to incorporate, we have several relief routes, and we'll be staging, if the work on 685, we were able to get that money for construction, we'll be looking to see which one of these routes we'll do at the same time. We're trying to expedite these, so we'll see how we can phase these to affect traffic the least. But we are under very, very rapid design for these. It'll be on the shelf if we're able to get the money in the near future.
Let me ask that question in a way. So, when we go to work on 685, obviously that is a huge amount of money it's going to take to expand that road to bring that up to where our citizens deserve it to be. Have we done the engineering yet, or is when we I think get that money, as you said, will we start the engineering at that point?
Actually, the engineering is ongoing right now.
Engineering is ongoing.
There was a study done, finished in 23, and then we're finishing up the 30% schematic right now.
Okay.
It should be done in the next couple of months.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not like something where we're going to be able to build this road while they're designing the other one.
Actually, yes. With the schematic, we're able enough to get the PS&E started on the other projects. We just
Okay.
need to figure out how we're going to phase it to affect.
So by moving forward with this today, we have the ability to, when we get funding for FM 685, we would be able to start on this road in order to have it complete before we break ground on 685, just because of the nature of the engineering and design work.
Right, that's the goal. Since we call these greenfield projects, since there's nothing else, they can do it a lot faster. So
yeah, no traffic control.
The design and the construction.
So may I request that we get a copy of the map?
Definitely.
Thank you.
All right, Melody. Since you pulled this item, do you have any further questions?
I do not. Thank you.
All right.
I do.
Oh, David, what you got?
What kind of coordination have we done with the landowner here?
I don't know who can answer that. What kind of coordination have we done with the landowner?
What does that mean? I'm sorry. Kind of coordination for what?
Do we hold this right of way yet?
The landowner, knows that we want to do this. Do they? Is this their preferred?
I think I asked that. That's my first question.
And I know we have coordinated. To what extent? Danny?
At this point, we have not coordinated with any landowner. I did try and see if there was any master plans or other work in previous years. There wasn't any that I was told. This is just a route study to see where it makes sense. Crossing.
We've got to cross the creek.
Exactly.
We got to do it at a reasonable point.
We have other projects, but we will at that point once we know where the road is more or less going to fit in, then we'll talk to the landowner, and we're doing that already.
So that'll be part of this contract, coordinating with the landowner?
After we get the study done, then we'll meet with the landowner.
After we do this, we'll meet with the landowner.
Well, isn't that backwards? I mean, shouldn't we be talking to the landowner before we design a road that's going to go across his land?
Well, there's no formal master plan file or anything that would dictate where we try and put the road. But at this point, we just want to see. Like I said, this is a relief route to 685, so we need to get it going and get fast as possible.
Okay, but if we're going to do that, I mean,
We need to make sure it makes sense for him.
Yeah, and then otherwise.
So what I've heard is we don't have anything filed from him yet.
Condemnation proceedings and.
I mean, that usually happens as part of like a development agreement as well, right? Where we would actually.
It is in the transportation plan.
Okay, that was my question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
So this
Because then
route
if it's in the
is-
transportation plan, then that allows us to. Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have any more questions from council? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve 5D.
Second. A motion from Jonathan, a second from Caesar. Motion passes 4-2. That brings us to the final item we will be discussing this evening. This is an executive session item number 6F, discussion of personnel matters pursuant to section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code regarding city manager. With that, the time is 8:33 and we are in executive session. Time is 10:15. We've returned from executive session. No action was taken. We've come to the end of our agenda, and it is still 10:15, and we are adjourned.
Man, we should have.